I'm going to compose 2 short pieces for you in a web browser using MusicJotter, which is a software that I'm building. I feel that composing for you on the spot will help you get a better understanding of how to get started with music composition. I also want to prove to you that my technique, which involves a responsive playback system, can help you compose music better. So here's a glimpse into what a responsive playback system looks like. You'll notice that as soon as I press the spacebar, the composition immediately plays back at the location of the mouse cursor. And this tiny little detail is actually critical if you want to experiment and listen back to your music in small intervals. Also, MusicJotter's default playback utilizes sound fonts, but you can also use a virtual MIDI port to connect to a sound font player such as CoolSoft or a software sampler such as Kontakt. And this is going to allow you to use your own sounds during the composition process. So I'm going to put links to everything you need in the description below. As I compose, you'll notice that I'm quickly able to make changes. And I can fill in harmony very easily because as I input notes and create chords, you can hear the chords as I notate. And you're also going to notice how flexible note entry is, and the process is not disrupted by automatic rest placements. And this type of flexibility during the composition process just makes it possible to compose by experimentation and to make quick changes. So as I start off this first composition, I chose C# minor as a bass key. This way I'm automatically composing all harmonies in C# minor. And since I'm composing with a mouse, you're going to immediately notice that by left clicking, we hear the pitch of the note. And this helps me form a bass melody very quickly. I decided to use 2/8 notes and 3/4 notes as my bass line for a melody, and I do this so that I can create structure. You can see that as I play back my composition, I just press the spacebar and the composition plays back exactly where the mouse cursor is. And this helps me understand if the composition sounds okay at a moment's notice. So at this point, I go back to measure 1 in order to fill out the harmonies in the left hand. And as I place notes down, I can hear chords which help me figure out which harmonies I want to use. I decided to use harmonies that stay in key since this is meant to be a simple composition. And just as a side note, anytime you introduce an accidental to your composition, you're temporarily changing its key. So I'm going to finish off the rest of this composition and then I'm going to play back the final result when I'm finished. I composed this composition in about 10 minutes, and the composition process was quick because it's only 5 measures long, and it relies on very simple harmony. It also has simple rhythms. So you're going to notice that I changed the time signature on measures 4 and 5 in order to resolve this piece with a cadence on the last measure. And I also wanted this last chord to only have 2 beats. So these time signature changes help organize the beats more logically. If you like this type of video where I'm composing music on the spot while explaining the process, let me know by liking and subscribing. Also, if you love how responsive the playback system in MusicJotter is and you want to start composing today, you can become a member over at my Buy Me a Coffee community. So a membership for just $3 or $6 a month will give you early access, and these low prices will be for life. So I'm going to put more information in the description below. In this next composition, I started off in C minor, and my tactic was to alternate the left and the right hand with this pattern of eighth notes and quarter notes. And I made a mistake at this part here because I broke the pattern. So you're going to see me come back to this section to fix that. And this will just give the composition a more fluid feel. Over here, I use B natural to break out of the scale, and I do this to create a little bit of tension. And about halfway through the sketch, I changed the rhythms a bit, but I realized that it didn't quite sound right, so I changed the time signature to common time in order to fit the new rhythms. Then before I conclude the piece, I change up the note structure a bit to give it a little variation and a sense of conclusion. In my opinion, I think that the ending needs to slow down in tempo, which is called a retardando, but I'll be adding tempo changes and realistic playback to Music Jotter in one of my next updates. Okay, so let's listen to the finished result now. This composition was a little more complex, and it took me about 30 minutes to compose. But even though it has basic harmony, it's still more complex than the first composition just due to its structure. I hope you can see how Music Jotter's fluid note entry and responsive playback system can help you compose music more efficiently. You can see how this software lets you be more creative with your ideas. You jot down your ideas and you play them back anywhere within the score at a very fast pace. And this technique that you just saw today will be made possible with Music Jotter. If you enjoyed this video, you might want to see how 8 levels of harmony can transform Brahms' lullaby theme into something completely different. See you next time.